Now, the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown have accelerated the move towards business being conducted online and remotely. Education experts say careers of the future will increasingly require people qualified in fields involving the cloud, internet, big data, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, machine learning, as well as augmented reality. Experts from the Independent Institute of Education say these are not only excellent options for matriculants who are still deciding on future careers, but also for those already on different paths who want to acquire additional skills and knowledge. Natasha Madhav from the Institute, or the Independent Institute of Education, joins us to tell us a little bit now. Good to have you, Natasha. Thanks very much for being with us.
Good morning. Good morning to you.
Obviously, I mean, this pandemic honestly did change the course of business and the way things have been done in the past. And if we have to look at sort of things that will change going forward, do you think this will last the way things are being done now?
Well, most certainly, I think many companies that were your brick and mortar retailers had to instantly go online. And I think they may maintain that momentum of being online. You find the need for web developers and mobile application developers instantly grew during the pandemic because everything was now happening remotely in an online space. Take note that global Amazon had to also hire almost 100,000 people during the lockdown because of the demand of online activity.
Isn't that incredible? I mean, when people were losing jobs everywhere, you had big companies like, for instance, Amazon hiring. I mean, I even saw advertising here in South Africa for that exact sort of purpose. And I mean, we've seen such a shift in the way things have been done. But I suppose the big question is, again, I sort of ask you, are things going to stay this way? I mean, because you see a lot of companies, banking, insurance, whatever, all kinds of companies working from home, doing everything online, having these Zoom, Microsoft Teams meetings. Will that stay? Will this become a new norm?
Well, we're obviously hoping that everything goes back to reality, but I'm assuming that in a workspace environment, there might be a lot more remote working. Yes, we might still come into the office for the occasional meetings, etc. But I think remote working, online meetings using MS Teams and Zooms will definitely increase because we've seen the benefits of working from home, not having to deal with the stress of the traffic. And I think users have just adjusted to being in that online space and working remotely.
Yeah, but also, obviously, the types of employment demands have changed through this particular time. What are you noticing? What are the things that employees are actually looking for now, pre-pandemic, as opposed to pre-pandemic, I should say?
Well, look, in the past, you had your normal software developer, software engineer, but I think the demand for web developers, mobile application developers, cybersecurity experts has certainly increased. Because as we work remotely and we're moving our business online, we need to maybe configure our website to develop a mobile app. With that come in the security experts, the networking specialists, to make sure that the users that are purchasing online, working online are protected. So I think security experts and your application development specialists, there certainly have been a demand in that space.
I mean, you've also said that studies in internet, cyber fields are excellent options for matric learners who are actually still deciding on their studies, as well as for people who are already employed. So let's talk to that. Do school subject choices not play a role in these fields to sort of suddenly go in that direction, or are there still opportunities available to move and decide, well, that's the role I want to do?
Look, there's certainly opportunities. I know in the school curriculum, you have your CATs, and then they also introduce programming. So it's good if you want to be a programmer to start with programming at school. But if you didn't, it's not a major trade smash. Many institutions offer the higher certificates, the diplomas and the degrees to get you going into that space. Yes, like I said, good start in school. But if not, you just investigate the institutions that you want to study at and find the right qualification that suits you. And of course, you want to be starting from beginner level. And I think most degrees, diplomas do that.
And also, you know, I can imagine there'll be new courses coming about as well. And these fields of study will expand. I know you have actually said that as the Institute. when we talk about expanding, perhaps you can elaborate a bit on this.
So in most instances, you will have a degree in computing or information systems, but you can then expand to do a higher certificate in mobile application development, a higher certificate or any qualification in data analytics and data science. There are even short learning programs to become a qualified business analyst. So even though you may finish with your diploma degree, look for what is needed and identify those higher certificates, short learning programs, even honors programs that specialize in the fields, because the emerging fields are your data analytics, data science, 4IR, robotics, and you really want to become specialists in the field because those are what's in demand in the near future.
It's quite incredible. I mean, and they're starting at, these courses that you're talking about from such an early age. You're seeing primary school already starting to teach these things because that is just the way of the future. It's quite amazing how we used to speak about these as the fourth industrial revolution and it's coming and we need to prepare and I know it's here already, but I mean, overnight, this was a reality for most people, that things had to change overnight, which pushed us so far into the future. I mean, you must have sat there in amazement watching things that people had been learning about and now suddenly had to put into practice very, very quickly.
100%. I visited school open days and I was amazed at what the primary schools were doing with robotics and, the Lego games. So it's really impressive that students are actually starting with this in primary school. But yeah, as we, buy smart TVs and smart devices, we realize there's so many things we can do with our smart devices. For example, I mean, my cell phone may be able to switch on the TV, and that forms part of the Internet of Things. I mean, you can buy devices these days that will be able to switch on your fridge or connect to your car. So it's just amazing the technology that we have out there. So hence, it's very important that we upskill our youth to become competitive in these markets.
Yeah, it is. It's very important. I mean, I was having a look at some of these comments doing the rounds about, just looking back on the year and some saying, and this really hit me because it was like little double R's or grade R's, double R's having to suddenly go online. Listen, we know that it's not ideal. It really isn't. But if you kind of think the skills that these kids have already learned, things that probably I am still learning, and they are these little 4-year-olds that are so easy on computers and doing everything from Zoom and muting themselves and getting this ready and getting that and switching it on and all of these kind of things. I mean, the development in the brain is something that we've got to understand, that this is the future. If you're starting from this early, you better equip yourself to deal with the future because it is going to be an online future like we've never seen.
Yes, look, 100%. My son actually showed me how to use MS Teams because I didn't know how to.
That makes sense.
So it's amazing that our kids are learning so quickly and they will teach you a thing or two. So it is good that, we encourage our kids, our students to really put themselves out there and understand technology. I mean, a simple thing as even working with MS Teams, going online to interact with your teachers, really a start because we are now really exploring that online space.
Yeah. So let's just say that again because as we begin to wrap this up, there obviously are courses that are available for some of these careers that are in demand right now. And I think, you'll find a lot of matrics or students that are up and coming and thinking, what do I study? What should I do? They're available at tertiary institutions. Perhaps we can just go through them again. I'm having a look at them online. They are there, but to talk through them, software engineers, database administrators, these kind of things. Talk us through exactly what it is that is in demand right now.
Well, I would definitely think your software engineers because they are involved in, making sure the systems run throughout, which includes your security, your application development. Then you have your cybersecurity expert, which will just focus on the security aspect and to make sure that, websites are secure and not hacked. For example, I don't want to be a bank user and suddenly my account's been hacked. So that's extremely important. Security has become extremely important in terms of the online space. So when you're looking at a qualification, be it a diploma degree, make sure that you're not just becoming a programmer or software engineer, but there's security elements in that qualification.
Yeah.
Because you cannot be a developer without knowing anything about security, because I think security is crucial.
It really is.
And then you have your network engineer, so you can specialize in networking. I don't really have to be a programmer and a networking specialist, but I need to have an understanding of both. So make sure also when you look at your qualifications, it has elements, it has an all-round element of having understanding of the different fields. What is really growing is your data analysts and your data scientists. We find that there's very few qualifications that have gone full into it, but I think it's up and coming. Your data analysts are basically the people that will look through big sets of data and identify patterns and come up with theories about what's happening with data and understanding clients' needs and users' needs based on the data that they pick up.
Natasha, I think you've given invaluable information here, but really, really fantastic. And then also, one thing we didn't touch on was the 3D printing, because that always amazes me. But this is something that's massive. And I see that it's been highlighted as 3D printing farms robotics, which you mentioned, and augmented reality as in AI and ML. I mean, these things are vital. But 3D printing into the future, big thing this.
Yeah, so a typical example, a doctor can have a heart printed in 3D as a model, to work with. Kids can print their little diagrams in 3D. So it obviously depends if you have the printers, because they're quite expensive, but it's definitely growing. It's interesting to see what comes out of that printer, the whole 3D model, but something exciting to look into, as well as robotics. I think the kids are already learning about robotics in school.
Exactly.
They're programming drones. They're programming their little Lego games. So it's good years and good challenges ahead.
It certainly is. Natasha, thanks for talking to us, just outlining some opportunities that are available after what we've been through this pandemic. And of course, so much has gone online. So much is about cybersecurity and careers and options that are available to matrics and people wanting to study further. Natasha Madhav for talking to us about the future careers in the fields of the internet and cyber. Natasha is from the Independent Institute of Education.